this month, actually this year, is flying by. So welcome everybody to Jazz Cats. I'm your host, Dawn Elizabeth, and I've got this amazing musician in my studio tonight, Aaron Brave Soul Parrot. But before we get started, I want to take a minute and send my sincere condolences to the family of Dr. Lonnie Smith, you know, the master of the Hammond organ. Went to meet his ancestors the other day at the age of 79. So I saw several Facebook posts yesterday. So I want to send big shout out to my boy Gerard Gibbs. I know you're struggling with it right now, GG, but just know he's in a much better place. So wanted to send my condolences out to the family and friends of Dr. Lonnie Smith. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome Aaron Brave Soul Parrot. How are you today?
I'm doing pretty well. How about you today, Dawn?
Good. Actually, everybody, this is my first time meeting this gentleman in person. And this goes to show you the power of social media. And, anything musically, I connect with everybody. And we probably connected last year before, a couple years ago. And you don't often see, the steel pan being played, typically unless you're like on the islands, so I was reading, your bio press release. So how did you get started with the steel pan?
Well, definitely at a young age, I started in music. I grew up, family sings, I have musicians in my family, but the steel pan came from my dad. He would always take me to Toronto as a young kid, as about three years old, and I would go back and forth to Toronto to go to the Caravana Fest.
Yes.
So up in Caravana, I would see these big, large steel bands. They would have 70 to 100 pieces, 100 players playing.
Whoa.
And it would fascinate me to the point where, like, I would just drift off and leave my dad. One time they was looking for me, and they found me walking up with the band. So needless to say, it was there. You know what I'm saying? But as I got older, I kind of really started to take it serious. I was in a lot of other genres at the time.
Okay.
But as I got older, I began to take the steel pan serious, and I advocate for it all around now.
Wow. So what other genres were you involved in?
But definitely, like as a kid, everybody everybody around me is in hip hop.
Okay.
So at that time, I'm producing music. I'm making a lot of tracks for a lot of locals. And I had some major placements, but I'm just producing music, so I'm not really focused on the steel pan. I kind of thought people would think I was corny,
Okay.
In school, peers could be funny, you know what I'm saying?
Yes. Oh God, yes they are.
Hey, but I got older and seen how it caused me to stand out from my peers, and I began to see how my peers began to gravitate back to me.
Right.
And,
right. Yeah. And I mean, it's definitely a unique sound, and of course, when most people hear it, they think of Jamaica, Bahamas, the islands, type of thing. So have you visited those islands, and have you played in front of the natives?
Yes.
How did they receive you?
Well, it's interesting when I play in front of like a Trinidadian. Well, first off, I got a lot of Trinidadian family. My dad's side is from Trinidad, so I grew up with a lot of Caribbeans and Jamaicans, and so they got to see me play early. I'm talking about 7 years old. I was in a band with my dad called Millennium Steel Band. So we were playing at like Afro World Fest, and we were playing in Windsor. Windsor had a Caribbean Fest at this time as well in Canada. So we were going back and forth, and I was getting exposure. But then he liked to say out his own mouth. It was a time where I passed him up. He kind of I started to take it serious, and I began to practice, and
Okay.
I was going.
Wow. Yeah, because I was checking out your bio, singing.
Yes.
So of course you just say you have a lot of musicians, in your family. I guess so. What made you think that you could sing at such a young age?
Oh, well, that's easy. Well, that's the soul side of me. Obviously, Mom had me in church, so I was playing music. I was playing instruments in church at a young age, and so I was singing solos.
Wow.
So I was kind of getting groomed up for being on stage. I guess that's how you could put it, because I remember being stage fright at a young age, but as I got older, that tended to leave away the more and more that I
gonna say most kids at that age, in church, they try to hide behind other people
Yeah.
and don't like to, to be out front. Me, I'm kind of that same way. I'm not a excellent or great public speaker, but like behind the mic in a room, I'm fine. But get me on stage, in front of people,
Yes.
and it's like, oh my God, I'm like petrified because a show that was just at Cola Lounge a couple of weeks ago, the artist Nathan Mitchell asked me to introduce him, and I'm like, oh God, So I mean, I did it, but then the bass player had to reintroduce him because the track didn't start. So,
Oh, yeah, that always happens.
yeah, and so that's never, I guess public speaking in front of a crowd has never been my strong suit. So I commend you, for not being afraid at such a young age.
And then I learned from the greats. I watched the greats. I guess I grew up watching Motown. I mean, I wasn't born during the Motown time, but I still had the visuals, and I heard it from my moms and my uncles. They all singing quartets and stuff. So, I kind of grew up hearing the Motown accent. So I would watch them. I watched old tapes at that time, VHS, and I would kind of mimic what they would do. So I had the best of both worlds. I wasn't shut off from seeing the good soul music.
Okay, well, that's great exposure. Because I always talk to all of my guests that come in. Parents want you to do the traditional 9 to 5 for 30 years. Music, that's a passing kind of fancy, but with that, because it was in your family and in your blood, you probably didn't have much of a choice, but to get into music.
Yeah, but I definitely had a choice because honestly, my dad was steering me in another way because he didn't feel that that was lucrative. Music was lucrative.
Yes.
There was a time out of high school, I signed bad deals, bad production deals. I had a few deals out of high school that were bad, so. But that was just immaturity. I didn't know much of the industry, but you learn. But he didn't. He wanted me to kind of steer me into another direction. But I was like, no, this is what I wanted to do. So I had to kind of juggle that.
Okay.
But now that everything is kind of blossomed, and you kind of see that I'm not gonna stop doing what I'm doing.
And let's kind of go back a little. Let's kind of talk about getting into those bad deals out of high school. Because I hear this story so many times talking to musicians that they've gotten railroaded by, someone claiming to be a manager, booking agent, promoter. What were some of the things that I guess maybe attracted you to that offer? And kind of like now hindsight is 2020. I'm sure you're doing things totally different now, but what were some of the things that this person said to you to kind of make you sign, kind of like your life away at such a young age?
Well, definitely, it was the fact that catching you at a young age. So when you're fresh out of high school and I'm used to hearing by that time I'm talented in this, but I don't really have a big head like that. But I know that I have a gift there.
Sure.
So, but they played on that. You know what I'm saying? They use money to do that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So basically, they signed me as exclusive. So what that meant was I wasn't able to work with
Anybody.
only the people that they put me with. And then there was a point where I was in-house. You know what I'm saying? So I became an in-house producer. That meant anything that I made was only going for the people that I was working with. And that was a learning experience when I found out I couldn't really work with any majors that I wanted to work with. And then that I was producing tracks, and it just so happened that one of the tracks ended up placing and it charted. And but I'm in-house. This means that I'm kind of signed as a ghost producer, which means that they're gonna pay me up front. They'll give you $5,000, give you this $5,000. So I'm like, cool, that's cool. At that time, $5,000. What you? Let me take that real quick. Not knowing that I can't sign my name on any publishing, any copyright. So I'm losing out on that. When it chart, I can't claim anything like that. So when people begin to hear my music on the radio, they'd be like, oh man, I'm
thinking you blowing up now.
No, they say, no, I heard you, but it wasn't your music. Because they know the sound, they knew the texture of it, so they knew something was up. Some of the people that I had hear the tracks, they was like, and I'm like, money. That's when I learned the money went real fast.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
and to have your what they say, cross your T's and dot your I's, have all of
Yes.
that business in order.
Yes, and that's one of the things as a booking agent and even an artist manager, especially on the booking agent side, a lot of younger, musicians. I'm kind of working with a young cat out of Atlanta, and we've been kind of working together for the last few months, and so I'm trying to educate him on the business side of music first. I mean, he's a rapper, and he's a vocalist. He sent me some tracks. I wanted to punch him. I'm like, dude, what is this? And so I was kind of educating him, on what to do, what not to do, because he's 20, 21, so he's gotten burned. And just like today, he sent me a text kind of with the breakdown of, say, an artist attempting to be paid like $50,000, and the breakdown, the manager, booking agent, DJs, flights, and the bottom line was like $1,250.
Whoa, what?
And I don't know where he got it from. He must have gotten it from some website or something. But I tried to explain to him. I said, okay, they'll dangle that carrot in front of you. I said, but at the end of the day, if they tell you, yeah, this gig is worth $10,000, you're not going to walk away with $10,000.
No.
And and it's like, okay, it's a lot of musicians, they're not a part of the musicians union. A lot of them, I'm like, get into the union, where you have at least a backbone. So if something like that happens, you've got somebody there that can potentially read a contract for you. It's like, don't sign this, and your rights as a musician, when you're, doing stuff in the studio.
That's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, I'm still learning a lot, about the business. But these horror stories, they're heartbreaking.
Yeah, they catch vulnerable people. People that's really engrossed in what they're doing. They dream, they give, because you gotta understand, people are told they can't do it. They never, and then a lot of people haven't seen that type of money before they get offered $100,000. But then if I knew then what I know now, then I know that whatever that they giving me is used towards marketing and promotion and that type of thing. Not to go buy the chain or go buy the little.
Exactly. And a lot of the rappers, these videos, and it's like, first of all, that's not their house. That's the record company's house that they're letting you rent. All those cars, those are not your cars. Half the time, that's not their jewelry. And so a lot, that they get caught up with the flash and, the beautiful women, the cars, the private jets, and everything. But it's a cost associated with all of that.
Yes.
And, like you say, the craft, yes, I've run across some extremely talented people, but they also have stories. Horror stories. And for me, it's one of those things. It's like, oh, slow down.
Yes.
Just let's slow down, because this young man in Atlanta, he had sent me a ton of clubs, to submit his, EPs to, and, things like that. I'm like, you're not ready yet.
Yeah.
Yes, you may have, played at some little clubs, at home. Yes, I love the fact that you want to go hit a grand stage someplace, go overseas. I'm like, but you're not ready, so I'm trying to, he's opening his eyes now, because I told him, I said, you need to get a passport. You need to get a passport. And I didn't tell him to get the vaccine. I'm like, think about it, do your research and consider it. I said, because a lot of promoters and or venues will not let you in unless you had the vaccine. And I told him, do not go online to buy one of these fake cards. Yes. 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 As a matter of fact, there was a story out recently. This young lady went to Hawaii with a fake vaccine card, and she's standing there getting her mugshot taken.
It's not worth it. You can't beat that system.
No. And my thing is, why would you want to put other people in jeopardy? With something like that. Of course, it's not, the vaccine is not a cure-all, be-all. It's a preventative measure. So now, like on the music side, we have to consider that now. Because like concerts at the Fox, I rode down that way with a friend of mine last Saturday. The line was like wrapped around the building for like hours. And I think it was the Cat Williams concert that a lot of people didn't even go because of the COVID protocol.
Right.
So that's another aspect, of the business that a lot of artists aren't even thinking
Not
about,
serious.
and again, I know a lot of people, the hell with the vaccine, I'm not getting it. That's fine, but a lot of promoters, venues, you can't even step foot in the building.
Yeah, they slowly chopping it down.
Yeah, yep. And, and again, that's another education piece for a lot of musicians, some seasoned, musicians even. The financial side of it, because before I got into the business, cutting a CD, I just thought you went in the studio one day, cut 5 or 6 songs, send that off someplace, they print the CDs, and then it goes out. I'm like, it's a lot more than that. And again, that's cost.
Yes, it's a lot more people involved. That's another reason why it's a good idea that your artist that you're working with do take his time in, because artist development is very important, and that's a part of artist development is grooming the mind on these type of business tactics, because you could get into some deals that just so alluring. I mean,
Yes.
the amount of money that they could offer you is limitless. And matter of fact, they do that. They offer us money that we've never seen before. You know what I'm saying? They may offer you them couple million, but do you know what to do with those couple millions when you get them? You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So that's a great thing what you are doing with your artists.
Yeah.
And even just learning the craft, because I spent countless hours, I can tell you, alone in the basement just trying to, whether I'm playing a steel pan or playing a drum set or keyboards,
Right.
because I had all those things as a child in my basement. You know what I'm saying? I had sports, but I always tell this story. The kids in the neighborhood would always ask, could I come out and hoop? And my mama would be like, no, you can't come out till you finish them piano lessons.
Right.
My door would always be open, and they could look right in and they be laughing. If my homies, they look at it, they be laughing at me, man. But no, it's cool. That's a funny story because I always did that, and it paid off. I got so much love for music, and I'm an advocate for people young and old to learn music. So.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, and it's a great escape. And it's because I can't play anything. I always tell the story. I played flute for about 5 minutes in elementary school, but I want to go back to it though. And I want to go back to it. I think that's what I'm gonna get myself for my birthday and Christmas.
That's a good idea.
Is a flute. So I got to go to like the pawn shop or something.
It's a lot of flutes.
Yeah. I know I'll have to get with a professional so they can tell me, like the starter, one, to get, kind of talking back to maybe your childhood, and I already know, you probably felt kind of like, quote unquote, dumb because your friends are laughing at you and they're outside playing.
Yes.
How did you kind of get over that?
I just waited until I finished my lessons, then went outside and I started like trading 3-pointers. We played basketball, like we had a lot of things. I grew up in the inner city. I grew up right off of Finkel Avenue, so it's a lot of things that you could latch on to.
Okay.
It's gangs, it's street people. I know these same people, but thank God that I always tell people too that these people were telling me that you got a gift, a golden ticket, man. So go ahead and focus on that music.
Right.
So yeah.
So how did you stay away from kind of the negative side of the neighborhood you grew up in?
I just kept myself busy. Like I said, I don't want to say obsessive, but my mom probably would say, because she heard drums and she heard all those things growing up. But I kind of I did that, and then like I said, I played sports, ran track, and I kept myself active. I was always traveling too.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Back and forth, Toronto, family is there in Toronto, so I got to travel as a child too.
Okay, good.
So I didn't have time to kind of stick around.
Oh, very good. Yeah, because I know a lot of people kind of get consumed.
I did till I got in high school.
Into that kind of lifestyles, and a lot of them, it's a survival.
Yeah.
And and because when I was growing up, there was always a music program in school. Now that they've taken the music programs out, especially the public schools, what advice, I guess, would you give to someone kind of coming up behind you, if they're in school, but there's no music program there, and they have a love for it, how would you encourage them to still kind of keep pursuing that dream?
I would tell them to do whatever they can. There's a lot of YouTube videos now that show people basics on how to. I mean, nothing beats the basics of picking up an instrument, but it's a great starting point to kickstart to learning. May cause somebody to go and buy an instrument. I always tell the person, no matter how cheap it is at first, go ahead and get it, because you got a starting point.
Right.
Once you start, you can always upgrade yourself. You're not trying to jump out and become who's some of the greatest, the greatest James Brown or somebody like that, all at once, or Herbie Hancock on the piano. You're not going to become that the first day. So just start, and then just worry about progressing later. So definitely to get the history about whatever it is that you're trying to learn musically, and take it from there.
Wow, that's a great point. He's one of the artists that I work with, Ralph Armstrong, bass player.
Yes, heard of him too.
One of his, couple of his main things is learn the instrument, learn every single part of this instrument, because he said if something goes wrong, how are you going to take it to the shop and tell them what to fix? You can't go in there, this thingy is not working. They're not going to know what you're talking about. And so he stresses the education side of the music business. And another thing is the financial. The stories that he's told me, a lot of the local musicians, and it just kind of makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up. He's like, I just don't get it. He said, Dawn, in this business, you have to account for every dime you make. CD sales, tips, because he has a residence at Baker's on Friday and Saturday. Started out just one day, then they took it to 2 days. And so every Friday and Saturday before he leaves from Baker's, he's jotting down, what he's made that night, the pay, the tips, the CD sales, and everything, because you have to know where your money is going. We all know, like with Oprah, she sees every piece of mail that comes in and everything that goes out, and it's like, and that makes sense. At first, to me, it just really didn't make sense, but when I would listen to just people talk about, I got screwed, I signed over, my record over to XYZ company, and, now they own my masters for the next 10 years, that type of thing. And it's heartbreaking to, to hear those stories. I mean, because you're putting your blood, sweat, and tears into it. It's almost like giving your baby up for adoption.
It is.
And then at the end of 10 years, and this grown baby comes back, to you.
Not the same.
No. And, then I like, your thought process, getting kind of burned, in high school or right after high school. Now
Yes.
And, and I'm sure that, does that make you a better, I guess, musician / business person?
It does, but then it kind of made me, it was kind of a two-headed sword, because it kind of made me not want to give up my music that easy.
Right.
So I had to kind of break that and just start sharing more music. Because when that happens, you can, like you say, it kind of has the baby effect, because you spend hours with it, you created something. And for that to happen, but then not only that, I had to sit on it and like hear the radio like boom blasting at me, and I'm knowing like, okay, I know I did that. But it's somebody else on the credits.
Yeah, exactly.
But all I had, I had was this $5,000 that was gone like probably 2 days. It was
exactly. Yeah.
And then the next one, it was another one like that. So they knew that I was capable of making a hit. So but they knew I also kind of needed bread. So they like you said, they dangled that.
Yeah, and and it's like I said, that I'm not that kind of person. My thing is, because when I started, in the business, I would book shows. There were several shows I didn't get paid.
Yeah.
My thing is, you're doing the work. You're up, under these lights, playing for hours on end. Go ahead. But Dawn, what about? I'm like, I'll be fine. I'm like, yeah, I want to get paid, but college, things like that, and so I took many hits, you know, starting out in the business, and it's like now I'm like, I can't afford to take hits anymore.
That's right.
And because I know some of these places, they will pay decent amount of money. I don't think I'll ever, become wealthy, doing what I'm doing at this particular moment, but it just, when doors open, other avenues I can use from a booking standpoint.
Yes.
But like I said, it's so imperative that these musicians learn the business.
Yes.
And because it's cutthroat, and it's evil.
It's that it is. It's that it is, and you have to know the spirit of the person that you're dealing with as well, because in the industry, the outer appearance is blinding.
Yes, very much so.
People, they say like a wolf in sheep's clothing. They can appear one way, but they got different intentions.
Yes, very much so.
So it's definitely good to be business minded and be about your business nowadays. So.
Right. Yeah. You have to. And ladies and gentlemen, you are watching Jazz Cats on Wjzz Cool TV. I've got this awesome dude that we've been Facebook friends, Instagram friends for probably about 2 years, maybe longer.
Yes,
Aaron Brave Soul Parrot. And I wanted, before I forget, where did Brave Soul come from?
See, Brave Soul came from the neighborhood that I grew up in, because you just had to be cut a certain way. I was always focused, and I was always focused on my dreams, and I was the one that wasn't easily deterred. So people my friends, they thought I was like kind of brave for going to some of the places and being to some of the areas and being with some of the people. See, because like even my brothers know, like there was street people all the time that just come to me to make music. They know I make beats and they knew it. So people in the hoods, I'm cool with them people. So a lot of my friends, they didn't come from that, so they thought I was brave for being around a certain people. And still to this day, people still know me, and I'm still good with them people.
Right. Yeah.
So brave. And then a lot of people on the Caribbean side thought I was brave for trying to take this instrument and make it like mainstream, like what I do with playing the hip hop and playing the R&B genres.
Right.
At a young age, they saw that. They're like, man, you're a brave mind. You're a brave mind for that. So I said, okay. So it kind of stuck with me at a young age. It stuck.
Wow.
Okay. Brave Soul.
Yeah. As I said, Dawn, don't forget to ask him about that.
Yeah.
And I recall seeing some video on Facebook of you playing at Little Rock. How did that come around? Because I used to go to Little Rock. I got married at Little Rock the first time, many moons ago, and so when I saw the video, I'm like, that looks like Little Rock. Like, what is he doing up there?
Yeah.
So how did that happen?
Well, I definitely that's the soul. So that's the brave and the soul coming together. The spiritual side. A couple of the members have seen me play at a different church, because I've been playing at some of the churches, doing this thing called Praise on Steel. Let everything that have breath praise, and with steel pan. So I had the steel pan going. So they heard it at another church, and they thought it would be good to come to Little Rock. They had fourth Sundays open where they would bring in artists. So when it was offered to me, I said, yeah, I'd like to come in. I know Pastor Holly was a good person, so I had met him before. So I didn't mind going over there. So when it came about, I said, yeah, I'll do it. And then when I went, the church received it well. So it turned into, from one, I did it about 3 months. So still occasionally they'll call me on fourth Sunday.
Oh, nice.
And I'll go over there.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I was wondering how well that was going to be received, in the Baptist church environment. So
yeah, I have a lot of videos on YouTube. We'll be playing in the church, playing like gospel songs.
Nice.
Playing some popular songs from the spiritual and gospel industry. Playing them on steel pan, and people like total praise. And nobody greater if I've done those songs and people can relate to them.
Right.
They love it. It's something they never heard before. Okay.
So now, are you a reader of music or Or are you an ear to
I'm both,
music? Okay.
but I'm better at the ear because that's the way I started. I get lazy when it comes to reading music, and I'll put it away real quick. But I can,
Gotcha.
I can follow and I can read. But I pick up everything that I learned by just getting on my instrument and playing it out.
Okay.
I always kind of had that. My mom said that was a gift. And other people said that was a gift. I used to play stuff on the radio, on the piano. Just sit at the piano. We had a piano as a kid, and they said when I was about 5, I just climb up there and they'll hear this melody, this one finger melody going off.
Wow.
So I'm sitting there playing. I'm about 4 or 5, and I'm playing popular songs. So I always enjoyed that. You know, it's always been a challenge.
Wow. Unbelievable with that. You know, like I said, I'm not musically inclined. You know, I love music. You know, concert supporting artists. You know, all day long.
But you don't need to learn to read in order to play music. I'll say that.
Okay.
Depending on how far you want to go and what level you're trying to reach. Because I've taught kids how to play steel pan without showing them sheet music. Because there's patterns and there's the scales that I can always relate to that people know do, re, mi.
Okay.
As long as I can translate that into a C scale and play that on the steel pan, do, re, mi, then they can understand it and they can learn it. They can maybe translate C into C sharp. I've had a few students do that where they were able to transpose it from C into C sharp without me telling them. They were just
Really? Wow.
And then later I came back and I showed them on the music. I said, okay, did you know this is the note you played? They were shocked.
Wow.
I didn't know that.
So how young do you teach?
Man, I've taught from 5 years old on up because they're so in tune to the sound. I can even go lower than that because I did an event at Novi Public Library, and they had kids that were like from preschool to kindergarten. Wow. They sat in a circle, they got up, and I would give them a stick, and I would say, here, play this note here. I'll point to it, and they'll go boom, and I'll say, point this.
Wow.
They'll go boom. They don't know they're playing the scale.
Right.
But after they're done, I said, do you know you just played a whole song? I said, that was a scale. And they said, wow.
Wow.
So I kind of take different approaches in order to teach them.
Okay, no, because I mean, my little 3-year-old nephew, you know, he was maybe not even a year old. I bought him a drum set, but I was trying to figure out kind of, you know, what he's attracted to, and but he loves music, you know, and you know, I play different music most of the time. I'm at home, you know, it's a lot of jazz, you know, straight ahead jazz, smooth jazz, and there was this one song that came on because I had my phone plugged up to my speaker, and Joey DeFrancesco,
wonderful,
and it was, I can't remember the song, but my nephew and I were just sitting there eating breakfast, and you know, and I'm kind of zoned out eating whatever, and I look over and you know, see his little head bobbing, and I look and see his foot moving, you know, and I'm like, you like that, Jace? He's like, yeah, I like that song, you know, and I'm like, okay, you know, so I'm trying to, you know, expose him, you know, to different types of music. Like I said, I tried him out with the drums, you know, so it would be interesting to see, you know, if he gravitates towards a steel pan one day.
That could be interesting. Like I said, I played percussion in high school, and all through school, I kind of just had music all around me. Steel pan, like I said, I had to mature into it because at that time I didn't have the visual of this cool steel pan player at that time. I was really young. I didn't have nobody to relate to. I'll put it like that. They were all cool to me, but I didn't have the sound to relate to at that time. Everything was reggae, calypso, soca. But now, man, I love reggae, calypso, soca, all of that type of music. Afro beats.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jazz, different genres of it.
I mean, it really gets you moving. You know, if anybody can sit still when certain music is being played, they can just go jump off of a curb or something, you know, because I met a guy at some party about 1.5 years ago, maybe almost 2 years now, and we were talking, and, you know, so he was trying to ask me, you know, what did I like to do, and I asked him, you know, I said, I'm in the music business. I said, I'm always at, you know, a concert, a venue or something. He told me he didn't like live music. And I'm like, He said, no. He said, I'm not a fan of live music, you know, or just music, period. And I'm like,
not a fan of music, period?
No. And I looked at him and I'm like, okay, nice to meet you. And I walked away.
Yeah.
And so one of my girlfriends, she saw me and she was like, Dawn, what's wrong? You got this look on your face. I said, that dude right there said he didn't like music. Especially didn't like live music.
Yes.
And she looked at me, she said, never mind, I know why you walked away.
He's a very angry person if you don't like
and I'm thinking, okay, dude, you're not from this planet. So, but like I said, music, I have to have it.
Yes.
And if I don't, I'm not a very happy person. So that's why I'm always, at this venue, even Burt's Bakers,
Yes.
Cliff Bell's, Dirty Dog, going to Chicago tomorrow, for
stuff.
business/concert, and Saturday Fisher for Stanley Clark, Mary Meadows, and Norman Brown. So
That's a good one.
so that mix, I'm gonna see, how that works, and kind of, like I said, looking at your bio and press release, the Ford Field,
Yes.
Palace,
Yes.
Radio City Music Hall.
Yes.
My feet would still be levitating. How was that experience?
Man, well, like I said, I like to say I kind of came in the industry through the back door because I was blessed to be a part of the group. So shout out to Selected a God, Larry Callahan. I was at the age of 16. We were singing and we were just pressing. But when we did the commercial, it opened up a lot of avenues for us to be able to get in a lot of venues and doing a lot of sporting events. So, man, I was able to perform Ford Field and do the Palace at that time. We got to do halftime shows, and I was still playing the steel pan. I was getting I was popular as a younger playing steel pan, so I was still able to get into some venues like the Palace and downtown like Joe Louis Arena. So I kind of had the best of both worlds going on. And by the time that I did America's Got Talent, that allowed me the opportunity to do Radio City Music Hall.
Nice. So how was that experience with America's Got Talent? I know we see it, from the side, sitting on the sofa watching television. How cruel or how grueling was that experience?
Well, I didn't understand how grueling it would be till it was over. That you gotta, it definitely forces you to thicken your skin and kind of get a repellent off of what people may say in the industry, because you go in it one way, but you come out it another way. You see a lot of people that went in it with you, they didn't make it this far, and their dreams got crushed. I'm saying they couldn't even get back into their craft because of what this judge said. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So some people, they kind of took it hard. I fortunately was always waiting for the moment to be on a big stage.
Right.
And I was ready for that. Even though sometimes the things that was going on backstage, they can be a Debbie Downer on what you're trying to do, and they can cause you to be off of your game, definitely. They throw some things at you that can make you forget why you're there. You can get frustrated.
Things like what?
Just things like simple things that, like we had to sit backstage on a crate, for 4 hours when we wasn't doing a live taping.
Gotcha.
Because, we still had to do filming. We had camera, we had press, we had media. So we back there, we don't know when we're going on, you know what I'm saying? But we have to be in place, dressed in place, ready. At any time, any moment, cameras is following us. The camera can come up to you and pull you to the side and interview you at any moment. So you just got to be ready. So some people couldn't take that, and it would cause people to be frustrated. It definitely can cause, if you're in a group, it definitely can cause your group to have friction.
Yes.
And it can cause it can cause it to show, you know what I'm saying, backstage. So by the time that you get ready to go on stage, you're not as tight. You're not as tight as
and then cohesive, as you could be.
And you're tight. I mean, you're tight all the while practicing all the way up into this moment. And when it happens, it's like you got to be prepared for that.
Yeah. And I guess I, often wonder, how and why, people kind of stick with the music business, because it's so up and down, crazy, cutthroat, evil, but then on the other side, they're like, I wouldn't be doing anything else, so, and then that's kind of the boat that I'm in on the business side of music, dealing with these different personalities, and, one day they're up here, next, they're down here, and then they have an attitude for some reason, and it's like, wait, it's not towards me. Yes. Okay, I'm cool. Yep. And a couple of times I had to pull a couple of coattails, like, who you talking to? And, but I love it. Yes. I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world, thanks, to my girl Gayleen McKinney, for introducing me to the music business. And, she saw something in me. Yeah, she saw something in me, and she asked me, if I ever thought about managing artists. I'm like, no. But I had been in human resources for over 20 years. So I was always managing multiple personalities.
So
and so it kind of, I was able to kind of use some of that psychology, working with, musicians. And fortunately, I've been able to work with some great people.
Yes.
And, I've met some just awesome people, during my journey, in the business. And, I wouldn't trade it. I wouldn't trade it for, anything in the world.
Yes.
And, before we close, this track, Fuego, Lord have mercy. Where did that inspiration come from? Because that's a bad track.
Oh, man, much love. I appreciate it. I'm glad you like that, by the way, because it's one of those things, and as me, I'm one of those artists that get woke up early hours. I tell this whenever I do my press, because people could attest from a young age, I'll get woken up 3, 4 in the morning. I didn't know at that young age that it meant for me to go ahead and record or write, whatever. I just get into a flow.
Right.
But Fuego came at about 3 in the morning. I was hearing this. I guess I may have watched Scarface or something like that, so I might have been hearing this Latin. Grew up hearing Tito Puentes and Rafael Palmero and a lot of different other people, and so I kind of had this. So it could have been a combination, but I was woken up with this bass line. This so knowing what I know now, I ran downstairs in the basement. I laid the bass line. And I had these bongos. That's my percussion, so I began to play a bongo to it, laid the bongo to it. So it began to take on a whole nother identity. And then the steel pan actually was the last thing I incorporated.
Really? Okay.
Fuego, I just heard this I just Fuego. Fuego. I may have heard it somewhere in life,
Right.
It's interesting how things could come back. But I just put Fuego. I knew that Fuego meant fire in Spanish.
Yes.
And I know we say, oh, that's, that drill you got on is fire, or that track was fire, or that shirt is fire. So I said, okay, let me flip it to something that people could understand. And then that track came, and I put the pan to it, and it's been blessing me ever since.
Man, that's a hot track. Now that's the one you did the video for.
Yes.
That I wanted to come to, but I was tied up and I couldn't make it. And I think you had to reschedule it or something. But I knew, when you were doing it, I wasn't available. And I was, matter of fact, I think I was maybe doing radio then. And I was like trying to figure out, I think I want to be in that video, but I'm like, I just couldn't make it. And, and then when I reached out to you, to do the show, start playing the song again. Like I said, I put the music to it on TikTok, uploaded the flyer and everything. And, it's just a dope track.
That's what I need to hear.
Yeah, it's just a dope track. So y'all, if y'all haven't heard the song, check it out. It's Fuego by Aaron Brave Soul Parrot. It's I'm telling you, because I was listening to it, before I left the house, to come here, and I'm like, yeah, that track is literally fire.
Yeah, I needed something to kind of change my identity up. Always had that layer, like I said, always had that layer. So I always wanted to do something Latinish.
Nice.
I knew that was Caribbeanish, and the video it kind of has a modern Scarface feel. That's why my attire and the things that's going on kind of got like a Miami type of flow to it. So definitely inspired by the Latino and the Hispanic. I grew up with Southwest people from Southwest. My dad had me all over the place. I'm glad he did. So That's why you kind of get a melting pot of different genres with me.
Yeah, and that's a beautiful thing, you know, for that exposure. You know, so what's next? Do you have any shows coming up that we need to let everybody know about?
Well, definitely getting ready, building up for to release an album off of Fuego. It's already done. I'm just waiting for some things. PR has me holding it back, so I'm just gonna wait until everything is right.
Right.
I'm looking sometime before November, so maybe the end of October. I'm gonna release an EP. It's gonna be titled probably "Ride Out," something that you can put in your CD.
Right.
Well, not CDs no more, but just put on your MP3 and your phone in your car.
Well, some people still have CD players in the car.
I still got one too. I put it in. Yeah, and it's just a continuation. I'm looking to link with new artists, and I want to do new venues and new shows going forward. There's some places in the city that I haven't performed. I just want to continue to, like the Aretha, I want to do more of that. And there are a couple times to perform, but I definitely want to be there as a steel pan artist. So
beautiful.
Definitely looking to connect and collab with different people.
Beautiful, and I'm gonna make that connection with you and Armando.
Yes.
Armando Vega. You know, because he's got a couple of other groups that he's a part of, but I met him through the LO7 connection because the percussionist and vocalist Greg Freeman passed away. So, you know, when he started getting sick, you know, he kind of stepped away, and so he introduced me, you know, to Armando, so I booked a couple of shows for them and everything. So, yes, I want to put you in connection with him and, you know, to see where we can take it.
That sounds wonderful.
Yes, yes. Aaron, thank you so much.
For having me.
I appreciate it. Yeah, because I'm kind of, you know, following you. I'm like, I got to get this dude on my show.
Yeah, I've been wanting to come on and greet the people. So
yeah, no, appreciate it. Yeah.
To come on and
absolutely, and let me know when the EP, you know, comes out.
Definitely.
And everything, you know, because I will, you know, promote it, you know, push it on all of my social media pages and upload some stuff on TikTok and everything. You know, I'm still kind of learning how to maneuver TikTok.
That's okay. So there's still some things I don't know about TikTok.
Yeah.
But I'll definitely, there'll be some things during Christmas I know. I don't know how they're going to do it Noel night, but there'll definitely probably be some Christmas things that's going on as well. So definitely stay tuned.
Perfect. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to Wjzz Cats on Wjzz Cool TV. Peace out.